June 3rd, 2024. This is really exciting. Oh, and I even have a friend coming over to say hello. I've never even met this friend. So, the garden definitely attracts pollinators of all kinds. I wouldn't necessarily call this little feline a pollinator, but an unexpected visitor. I've been working on this garden for 9 years now. And, oh, you're just distracting there, kitty. Yes, you are. You're super cute. In that time, I've taken this from just grass, this was all grass, to a wildflower meadow. There are so many pollinators. It's a little windy today, so there's not going to be as many pollinators out, but there are so many pollinators that come to this thing. It is just crazy. I'm seeing wasps that I've never seen before. We have an abundance of wildlife here, an abundance of insect predators like robber flies. So this obviously Giardia, this is what comes up after the bluebonnets to kind of hide the bluebonnets. You can see that long grass over there. Those are bluebonnets that are going to seed. And so this is here to distract from that, so that the homeowner association won't have a problem with my long grass with all the bluebonnets on it. And I've got some long grass over there and stuff. So, oh, cat's digging in my plants. It's perfect. I think Kitty's about to poop in my plant over there. I didn't even know. Look at that. So the wildlife habitat wasn't built for cats, but clearly can be used by all wildlife. We have foxes come up in the yard now. All kinds of stuff. It's really fun. Now, we've always had deer come up in the yard, but I think they come here because there's no other threats, and now wildlife is kind of starting to move in. Some of the pollinators have come out because it's the wind is dying down. But my goodness, when there's no wind here, this is just incredible for pollinators. And here we have Esperanza, my own version of Esperanza, because I've had dozens of Esperanzas. These are the only ones that have lived consistently, and they bloom longer than all the others. So I don't know what the deal is, but this is tough and it blooms more. So yes, I want that one. This bed here is very wild, and it will be dominated by wildflowers all year. Once the bluebonnets come up, and then the Giardia, it looks kind of right here right now, but in about another 2 weeks, the Pride of Barbados is going to be so big, again, no one will notice. There's a little awkward period here when we're transitioning from spring to summer. These are my favorite Texas sages. Absolutely love these guys. This is the Eldorado Texas sage. And then over here, we have a Silverado Texas sage. You can definitely see the difference, the smaller leaves and not as much silver. I like this one because of the silver. White is a really hard color to find in landscaping, and this is about as close as I can get. So it's a good contrast to the green, but this is a great plant, Leucophyllum. This is the rain plant that predicts the rain, and it's pretty accurate. Again, Esperanza. Love this Esperanza, my favorite. It is really, really the best one of the bunch. Blooms longer than all the others, and it's tough. I don't do anything for it. This bed, I'm so happy with this bed. So happy the way it turned out. So, standing cypress right here is a rare wildflower because it takes multiple years to grow, and if you cut your yard or you cut the space at all, then you just kill them. So it has to be left uncut for at least 2 years. I grew these from seed, and it's very interesting because they migrated themselves. I take the seeds and I spread them all over here, and they chose where they wanted to grow. Well, it's such a small plant. I mean, it's tall, but you see how thin it is here. See how thin that is? That's the whole plant. That's it. Just that. So I let them grow wherever they want because they can just come up wherever. This is what the pollinators fight over. It's really interesting to watch the pollinators. They love this color. It's this and the flame acanthus, and this is almost like flame acanthus. It's just beautiful in the wind. But again, it's pretty rare just because of the conditions it requires. 2 solid years. And I have Salvia gregii under it. I mean, the Salvia gregii is not really in bloom right now, but I don't think you'd notice it if it was. Look at all that. That is just beautiful. So pleased with how this turned out. And again, it completely moved from the bed I put it in. It moved. I say it moved. I put seeds over here, but it's no longer growing in the bed I put it in. It refuses to grow there. This is where it wants to grow. So good. You know, the Maine wildflower in Buda also requires multiple years of growth. This is a Mexican hat. And the Mexican hat, because it requires multiple years for growth, is also one that you don't find in people's yards very often. It doesn't take up a lot of room, so I just kind of keep it over here on the fringe. Like this. Yeah, a lot of Mexican hat there. Oh, and my kitty friend is back. I didn't know I had a cat friend. So, there's tons of standing cypress coming up for future here. There's more coming up here. I mean, there's a lot of standing cypress back here now at this point. So this is excellent. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything better. The flame acanthus, this is my lowest maintenance garden right here. The flame acanthus is not in bloom yet, but it's massive this year. This is about as tall as it gets, and then it's pretty weak wooded. It's about to fall over. So it kind of keeps itself trimmed. It'll get about 6 feet wide and 4 feet tall, maybe 5 feet tall at the most. Yeah, I'd say 5 feet tall, it looks like. And then over there, the Jerusalem sage with the Salvia gregii, standing cypress, flame acanthus, Jerusalem sage, Mexican bush sage, and Texas sage, and the Mexican hat. This is the lowest maintenance garden I've ever put together, ever. I have to cut it once occasionally. I don't cut the flame acanthus ever because it comes back even if in the coldest temperatures. That never de-leaves even in the coldest temperatures. This doesn't have to be cut back or anything. The Mexican bush sage I cut back once a year, but it literally requires maintenance once a year as opposed to a lawn which requires maintenance once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month or whatever. And then stuff in this bed, you can see the stones indicating the bed. Stuff in this bed doesn't get cut at all. So, wow. It's really working. Let's walk through here a little bit. You can see deer here. Deer are totally camping out. And then over here we got plumbago, which is one of my favorites. I absolutely love. Wow, did I just get into a bunch? Oh, that's the false carrot. Okay, I see. I'm getting these burrs all over me, and I didn't understand what it was. False carrot. The plumbago here is coming out nice. So I had one here just as an experiment. I had a whole bunch of them and just wanted to see which ones did best. This one has done super well, and it's hard to believe this is literally one plumbago, for real. This is one. And it just keeps growing. And then I've since planted a bunch of ones down here to take advantage of the cascade effect kind of down this hill here. I do like how the plumbago cascades. And this will be a nice deep bunch of it right here. So that's the front garden. I'm so impressed with this. I'm so happy with how this turned out. This is kind of the side yard here. Side front. A little bit of a screen going on here. Lower pedalum. Lower pedalum. And I didn't want everything to be a monoculture screen in case there's some sort of sickness came through and wiped everything out. So here I've got Yopon and Eve's necklace. I'd have to say, I understand why not a lot of people have this plant. This plant is, I believe, made to grow with something. It's so thin, it doesn't dominate the space, and it doesn't really hold itself up very well. Like, it's very thin and weak. I think it's made to climb through branches. Because this one here is at least 5 years old, and it is, I don't even know what to call that. Multi-trunked, weak, wooded, slow growing. I mean, those are the positive adjectives. So yeah, I use necklace. It's a relative of Mount Laurel. That's kind of the reason I got it. Here we have Yopon and American Beautyberry. Also chili patines. Chili patine garden is pretty weak right now. Last year I had about 40 of them. An armadillo came through and dug it up. So I don't know, got about half a dozen, maybe 10 left, something like that. Yeah, so it is what it is with those. American Beautyberry is beautiful though. You can see just a beautiful flower. It's very diminutive. It's really hard to see. You don't even notice it. More patines. This is a lure for me here. It is Texas Betony. I've got 2 or 3 of them down there now, and it is super slow growing. Not very big. The only reason I have it here and I protect it is it's a hummingbird habitat, or sorry, a hummingbird attractant. The first hummingbirds that come through will find this. They're looking for it. And there's only one here now, but that's how I do all the plants here. I buy one and then I propagate more of them. Mountain laurel, these were planted from seed from a friend of mine who committed suicide. And so these are a special part for me. And right now they're about 4 years old, 5 years old maybe, 4 or 5 years old. She gave them to me before COVID, so I think they're 5 years old now. I mean, this is probably 1.5 feet tall at 5 years. Wow, they grow so slow. Over here, we have Agarita right underneath the window here. And the Agarita likes it here a lot better now. It didn't like it here for years. There wasn't enough sun, but in some storms, we recently lost a bunch of branches. And so the cover now is pretty open. It's getting a couple hours of sun right there. And you know, it gets filtered sun. This is the east right here. So this would be morning sun from what the Agarita gets. So it gets a little filtered sun now. And we also lost some trees over here, or not trees, but limbs over here. So yeah, it's a lot more open for the Agarita. It's liking it a lot better. The side garden is kind of, it's never had a cat in it before. That's kind of weird. But the side garden is a work in progress. It's almost done. I just need some stones on it, really. A couple more mountain laurels and a motion activated sprinkler to protect the chili patines. Another mountain laurel here, again planted by my friend Crystal. These are special to me because I'll never see Crystal again. They always remind me of what she was. So yeah, special. This is a very large dwarf palmetto. A couple more dwarf palmettos here, sable minor. And this marks where we sprinkle our dog's ashes. When one of our dogs dies, we sprinkle his ashes here. Well, it's been to him, so whenever they die, this is where we put their ashes. So this marks it. And this tree is here specifically as a replacement tree for the giant one behind me. This is a giant, giant tree. And it is also one of the thinnest live oaks in the neighborhood. I think it is on its way out. And this tree is in a good spot. This is a Monterey oak, or a Mexican white oak. Monterey oak, I think is what it's called. Black and blue sage. Man, I love this stuff here. It just doesn't really grow thick enough to hold its own. I mean, I've had it here for 5 to 7 years, and it's just very thin. So it's really hard to put in a garden setting where you need a sage to dominate the landscape, because it doesn't, which is kind of frustrating. Over here, I don't even like the smell of this plant, but it attracts butterflies like crazy. And it blooms, now that it's established, it's blooming twice a year. So you can definitely see a bloom expired and a bloom coming in. It really likes this spot, and this is just one of them. This is a fragrant mist flower. I think I'm going to get a couple more of them just to fill space and just because the butterflies love them. I got to be honest, I don't like the smell, but the butterflies absolutely love it. It's my own creation. I just kind of wanted something different on the edges instead of just a stone. So, put a succulent planter right here. A couple different kinds of succulents. These succulents live outside all year. I don't bring them in, so they're used to the cold. Same thing over here. These succulents grow all year. They don't come in. They're used to the cold, but they're definitely not as hardy as the other ones. And Pride of Barbados coming out. In Houston, this is already in bloom and has been for about a week. Just now starting to come out here. Plumbago, this is part of my ground cover here. Plumbago just, it will eventually fill in. And Esperanza, I have real trouble with Esperanza in this area for some reason. So I think I'm going to propagate a couple more and then move them a little bit maybe over here. These are Mexican mint marigolds. I really want them to be thick, but I only had 2 of them, and I propagated. Now I've got a whole bunch here. Several of them died in the freeze. There was one here, one over there. Several of them died in the freeze this year, so I'm not really happy with this garden. It's kind of patchy. It should look more like that, and it's patchy. So definitely going to have to do some transplanting. This is growth season, so I'll definitely transplant those in the summer. More Mexican hat over here. This garden over here is quite unique. It is petunias. These are native, I think it's purple petunia. I'm almost positive. I might be wrong on the name. They're not in bloom yet. When they do bloom, it's going to be a great show. I can see why they're not commercially available, but also I can't see why they're not commercially available. This is a great wildflower, and I've got a huge amount of them here in the garden. If I see any, like here, there's one right here. Once it goes to seed, I'm going to grab it and throw it over here in this garden, and that's just what I've done with them all. I tried to get tropical sage to grow here, but the tropical sage is so hit and miss. You can see a little bit tropical sage. I've got a couple pots of tropical sage just to try and get the seeds around, but I can't seem to get the tropical sage established here, so I'm going to let this take over. Man, is it ever doing well. So really happy with that. Here, got it. Flame acanthus and the standing cypress in the background, really cool. Mexican bush sage here. So this is the burrs I ran into, if you saw the video earlier. These are the burrs I ran into. This is a false carrot, and I said earlier in the video that white is the hardest color to find in landscaping. False carrot is a white, so a lot of people consider it to be a weed, but I consider it to be a white addition to my garden. And it blooms at a time when nothing else is blooming, which is really kind of nice. Can blowing down the road, that's kind of nice. So this is the pathway. Underneath this is escarpment live oak. Got to do a little bit more trimming here, but it's turning into like a tunnel, which is kind of what I want. I want a tunnel to come in the pathway here. Garlic chives. We used to have deer that slept in our garden, and they would eat all my new plants. So I didn't want to do anything forceful, like kill them or sit out here and all night long and hunt them. I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to plant stuff that they didn't like. Well, I planted a bunch of plants around and I put up game cameras. I found out they won't even touch this. In fact, they won't even brush up against it. They will purposefully walk around it. When they're walking, they can sniff it. They can smell it, I mean. And they walk around it. So I planted it everywhere they sleep. I've got it all over the yard. I've got some over there. I've got some over there. Everywhere they slept, I would put down a bunch of garlic chive seeds at the right time of year. And they moved. They no longer sleep here. So it is uncomfortable for them, which is awesome. Yeah. Backside of the Texas sage and desert willow garden. I love the smell of the desert willow. Just absolutely love that smell. This is Salvia microphylla. It's a hot lips sage right here. It's a canyon sage, and this environment is kind of like a canyon. You need to do a bit more trimming on this tree, but it's more like a canyon. Speaking of trimming a tree, this is an out of control tree. There's the curb. I'm gonna have to do something here. I just whack it or something. But it's growing towards the sun, so it's gonna keep doing that unless I take off one of these branches here, I think. So take off a couple branches up there, and then trim this bad boy. So this is more part of the smell garden. Sweet almond verbena. It has the most amazing scent. The flowers are just starting to come out. Let's see if I can get one here. Flowers are just starting to come out there. Beautiful scent. I mean, incredible. Incredible. Everybody really likes this scent. So that is a sweet almond verbena. This is a dwarf yopon, slowest growing plant I think I've ever seen. It grows maybe 2 to 3 inches a year, for real. I really like my bamboo muley, and I love the emergence of the Texas native poinsettias. That's really awesome. Another unique plant in this garden. More succulents. These are just random succulents. Eventually these are all going to end up in Houston. They do so much better there. This environment is okay, but it gets too cold for them here. So in Houston, I don't even have to take them inside. So this right here is my front garden, front porch view. Oh, there's my cat friend. I didn't even know I had. He's obviously loving the fern. Front porch view from my place. I just love this. I just love